Broadcasting live from the backstretch at Saratoga, this is the Handicappers Report. Brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrow. I am Anthony Mormino on the day after Independence Day, July 5th, Saturday at the racetrack, and it is another beautiful morning, 2 in a row.
Yeah, this is absolutely a gorgeous. And yesterday was a great day all day long. It wound up to be, sunny, nice, not too humid, and some nice racing. And I would expect more of the same today. As you say, it's a gorgeous day up here today.
Now that's it was a perfect Independence Day yesterday. One thing I'll say about the track, if you watch, I've said this before, no public handicapper has ever picked more horses run last than me. I think I had 4 yesterday, but we'll get to that in a moment. But if you go back and watch the Suburban, Honor Marie, now remember at a mile and a quarter at Saratoga, they started the 8th pole. Before Honor Marie got under the line the first time, his chest was all covered in dirt as if it had rained, during the day or such. And obviously on opening day for us, we had rain during the Handicappers Report rather strongly, but it turned out to be a beautiful afternoon. But if you just take a watch, and I've said this many times before about moisture in the racetrack when you're thinking, well, Anthony, how could there be? It's been beautiful. But just watch Honor. My point also is he hadn't run an eighth of a mile. And I think, obviously I wear eyeglasses, but I think he's completely splattered with dirt. And, I knew I had no chance. Phileas Fogg was just, got everything his way, then held on at the end.
I had Don Little on from Centennial Farms yesterday.
Yes.
And I saw him right after the race. He said, I can't be upset about that. It was a great run. I'm sure he's upset that he came up that short. But
from an athletic standpoint, he was up against it, and he put in a big performance. And I'm not so sure, a horse that I really knocked around, I'm not so sure that Locked ran poorly either against the track. Now, I'll tell you one thing that you don't see very often. If you look, you have the chart there. There was hardly any change of running positions. I think in the chart they had 6 points a call, and there was 7 horses, right? So that's 42 points a call. I think the trifecta was the merry-go-round. My horse ran last every step, and like 2 horses switched 4th and 5th.
Yeah, Twitter was kind of down on Locke, but I was with you. I'm not sure
I
don't
know that on this racetrack
from this.
He had much of a chance.
I'm kind of similar. And I took a look at Phileas Fogg going into the race, and I went back and forth. We talked about it yesterday. If there were 4 or 5 you could have kind of had equal confidence about. Yes. He was one of them. So it was about heading into the far turn. I was kind of kicking myself. I hadn't put him into the mix a little bit, but
you can't like them all.
Yeah, it was just that kind of a day. So, but it was a good run by Phileas Fogg. Gets into the winner's circle there with a nice grade stakes win early at Saratoga, and Johnny Velasquez on Antiquarian made it very, very.
If I had my options on running style, I might like Phileas Fogg on the dirt track yesterday.
Yeah.
Might have been advantageous.
Yeah, no question.
I think Zulu Kingdom was the only chalk yesterday. 7 second choices won, but Zulu Kingdom, and I've said this before, a day when the favorites get shut out, a full day, I have a list at home. I didn't bring it. It's really only about 1 in every 3 seasons. It rarely happens. It sounds like, no, it doesn't really happen often. But Zulu Kingdom, kept that, got the one favorite home, and
looked pretty good doing it.
Well, okay, now, so I don't know what your chart says, but does it put the times down? the chart you're looking at?
Oh, I'm sure it does.
Okay, look at the first race. It was the 3-year-old fillies 1X. What's the time for the mile?
I don't have the chart for every race.
Okay, so the fillies, the 1X, went 133.11. Look at the time for the Manila.
Yeah, 133.11.
So the first race on the inner, rails down, and I said I think forwardly is good. They went 133.11, and then in the Manila, which, as I said yesterday, has already produced 2 Breeders' Cup winners, went the same time. Just put that out there. Make of it what you will, because on raw numbers, 133.11 sounds very fast. But if you've been looking at the mile races we've had at this meet, maybe not. And then on the same day, a couple hours later, Phillies 1X go the same time. So there you have it.
Test score, nice winner for Grand Motion, the Belmont Derby. We mentioned the
now
Suburban.
Here, do you have the chart for the Belmont Derby and the Manila?
Yeah, I have all the
just
stakes.
kind of put them side by side for you to make it easier. What I have to say. So I love trifectas. I know Seth, you love the exacta.
I'm
What's
more
your favorite
exacta.
bet? Your favorite bet is the exacta?
I would still stick with exacta.
Okay, my favorite bet's the trifecta. So this is a part that I actually enjoy, where I think the CAWs are less in my wheelhouse. So Zulu Kingdom was a strong favorite. You had 2 20-1 shots under it, right? Look at the try. About $43.
43 for 50 cents.
Okay, so now go to the Belmont Derby. Now, there's a couple caveats. There was about 3 horses the same price in the Belmont Derby. Final Gambit and New Century, who was the chalk. They run, I think, 4th and 5th. But the favorite was like 2.5 to 1 also, right?
Yeah.
By moderate prices underneath, and I think the trifecta came back
103.
Right, and this is where I am old, not old school, but old. I call that a $415 try because that's how I grew up, and I think about it. I don't think of 50-cent trifectas. I think of $2 trifectas. So to me, you basically had about a $170 try with Zulu Kingdom with 2 20-1 shots under, and then another race where you had 4 horses about the same price. And to me, I valued Luther. They didn't bet Luther as much. I considered Luther like 4 to 1 in that race. You remember that was the horse 2 races back had run the big mile race in France, the Guineas, and got beat a length. So I thought Luther was even a lower price, but it comes back, a huge number, in my opinion, a huge number.
That said, going old school, the 170 is a pretty good try
with
for a
Zulu
2 to
Kingdom
5
on top.
Yep. So
yep.
Yeah. Also yesterday, Dark Horse Play of the Day gets it done. Bring the band home in the finale. The Harvey Pack on the front end on the turf. I don't know whether I had to sweat at any point around the track with that one.
No.
That was a nice looking win on the front end for Javier Castellano. Got the lead essentially right out of the gate, took him all the way around for Mark Cassie. It was just somehow the dark horse over the past couple of months has found the horse that is not going to hold up to the
your
morning
own price.
It's I would like to think I'm killing it. I can't believe that though. But and
it's not
during the Triple Crown season. I was doing some tracks out of town, obviously, because I was going Wednesdays through Sunday. So I was doing some out of towns. And that isn't necessarily surprising with the morning line. But as we've said many times, David Aragona is so good. To go from 8 to 1 to 7 to 2 was a little bit of a kick in the behind. But still willing to take it there with the Dark Horse Play of the Day yesterday. So, and we didn't mention the Schuylerville King Salver looked really good in there with an $8.90 win for Rudy Brissett. Rudy Brissett will join us at the top of the hour, racing across America. We'll talk a little King Salver and more with Rudy. We'll also be joined by Jason Blewett from West Point Thoroughbreds. They have a debut runner coming up today. I love this, by Nick Sco. Ewing debuts. We'll talk that one and some of the other West Point runners in the past, and also coming up today. They have a nice one in the stake at Woodbine. And then we'll be joined by Gabe Pruitt from Hoosier. The VP out at Hoosier, announcer from Pompano back in the day, not that far back in the day, but I saw on Twitter that Gabe was going to be in town. He is on Fox Sports tonight. There's some nice racing at the Meadowlands, so he came in town for that. And so I thought we'd get Gabe over and talk a little bit of some Hoosier and maybe some Meadowlands tonight and get his impressions because, as I understand it, it's his first trip to Saratoga. So that's coming up at 10 o'clock racing across America.
Bring the Band Home, who was 8-1 on the morning line, was the 7th second choice in the wagering to win.
Oh, wow. That's an intriguing
7th
afternoon. Yeah, that's
1 fave, 1 third choice, 1 fourth choice. And the 5th choice, I think David and I are going to put something on Twitter that he was kind of not bashing, but kind of, I think he got it right. The fans got it wrong. He made Tom Collins 7-2. It's not, and he paid $19.
Yeah.
The fans were wrong, and David was right.
Yeah,
he's supposed to be a player.
Yeah, you would expect that, as Brian Addo says, the IRAD tax would have taken some value out of that, but no, you got almost $20.
Yeah, I mean, so there was 2 morning line favorites. That one was Zulu Kingdom was one, and the other was Awesome Check, who was the morning line favorite by David. It wasn't by the bettors, was the second choice. And I'm going to be, like I said, intrigued. Maybe Awesome Check is a filly on the turf that's a world beater, but I thought a lot of the Manila Stakes going in, and I don't think less of it coming out, but I am intrigued to see where 133.11 with an entry-level fillies and with it's a grade 3, but a solid 3-year-old Colts stake race.
Yeah, that is the kind where you want to see. And more what you want to see is what the filly does.
Well, I think
because maybe that does validate that was a good.
And I am more inclined to say right now that I think it's kudos to Awesome Check, and not demerits for Zulu Kingdom. I agree with you. I think it's the filly, but time will tell.
Let me hit you with the promos coming up over the next couple of days here at Capital TV. Don't forget, if you go down to the Clubhouse Racebook today, King of the Hill contest, see if you can get crowned king this afternoon at the Clubhouse Racebook. That's 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Late pick 5 today at Saratoga will be the Bounty Bet. Don't forget, Bounty Bet normally has been Fridays, but at the meet will be on Saturdays. So Bounty Bet, Saratoga, late pick 5 this Saturday afternoon. Sunday, there's a knockout challenge at the Clubhouse Racebook. Again, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. And don't forget our Play of the Day bankroll, of course, which has gotten off to a nice start. If you'd like your chance to get on that bankroll team, go to capilotv.com, click on the promotions link, look for the Play of the Day, Depaula Play of the Day bankroll, fill out the entry form. And I believe that, I don't believe I see it right here on my form, it closes tomorrow. So we'll select the team tomorrow. Folks on the team will get notified. Don't forget, you have to make a wager a certain, I think it's 40 out of the 44 days, any amount or whatever, but you just have to kind of be a participant throughout to keep your Play of the Day alive. But keep that in mind because that's counting into this series of days as well. So there you go, the upcoming next few days. Oh, and I do want to mention, I meant to say it yesterday. Nice day up here, obviously at Saratoga. But at Prairie Meadows, you're going to have the Iowa Derby today, and out at Horseshoe Indy, the Indiana Derby and the Indiana Oaks, and some other nice stakes races on the undercard as well. Coal Battle, the Lonnie Briley runner will be in the Indiana Derby.
The Indiana Derby used to be an autumn event. I think looking at Lucky used it for a prep for the Breeders' Cup.
I mean, a lot of these have moved around. There's no.
Well, I think because
the Super Derby used to actually be the Super Derby.
It was. I mean,
they've
one of the great inventions.
Oh, instant replay also looks good for Brad Cox in the Indiana.
Well, I think all that's part of the, the idea that I didn't want to be right about. The timing of, like, here's a question I have open-ended for you is that, so Sovereignty is pointing for the Jim Dandy, so the Travers, it's like, is it the Travers to the Breeders' Cup? Because that's, in this day and age, that's
when you
a serious amount of racing.
It was kind of an outlier, and a couple of folks had done it, but yeah, you were prescient there because that is becoming, it seems like, more and more of a thing, which that to me is that.
I mean, they've kind of tipped the hand that they like the 5 race, the 5 weeks off between the race. He was so good, he's going to have a gap, and you're thinking, well, that he'll have in today's day and age, a very serious 3-year-old campaign under his belt because he started in January.
Yeah.
When does the rest come? But
and sure. Who did Baeza, I think, is coming.
Well,
I was trying to think Baeza or journalism.
The one advantage we have is all the major 3-year-old races at Del Mar are grass events.
Yeah, except for the fact
Pacific
that
Classic.
There was a conversation right after the Triple Crown, which I think is true. The handicap division out in Southern California is not strong. So
no,
Pacific Classic is sitting out there for those horses. So I could see them
not able
around.
to repeat his big cap effort.
But again, it's going to be interesting to see who shows up. I ran into Jeremiah Engelhardt on the front side yesterday, and he was saying Moplex, Haskell, or Jim Dandy. I'm going to try to get him in next week. Talk a little bit about Moplex. So.
And I think on Talking Horse, I heard Andy Sherling say that Echo Sound got a 101, and he was sort of intimating it's more apt to be a better performance than even that number. Yeah. And I said on open,
it was a good performance.
Against what the dirt was giving up, her teletype, her time was pretty good. So it's Saturday, so it must be Kevin Cox, right?
I believe.
The Brooklyn Cowboy, time for the Depaula play of the day.
And they're off. Chevrolet, Mazda, and Ford right now at the Depaula Auto Group. Take off the savings you need on the vehicle that you want. New cars, trucks, SUVs, hybrids, and all electric. Delivered with Depaula savings. And the Depaula Auto Group has hundreds of pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. Remember, Depaula can service any make and model and has over 100 service bays. So buy Depaula. Think Depaula for all of your automotive needs. Depaula Auto Group. Chevrolet, Mazda, Ford, and pre-owned. Depaula.com.
Everybody, Kevin Cox, the Brooklyn Cowboy here with your Capital OTB Depaula play of the day from beautiful Saratoga Race Course. We're going to be giving you our plays of the day on Fridays and Saturdays throughout the summer. And we'll be basing our success on a 50 to win, 30 to place, 20 to show wager for the bankroll team. In the first 3 years in doing this, we've shown a flat bet profit every single year, and we shoot for the Grand Salami this year. Hope everybody had a fantastic Independence Day yesterday, and we're going to dive into a very competitive card today with Race 2 selection, number 1, leading contender. This $180,000 auction purchase can be all of yours for half a yard today. And while that's surprising that he's put up for sale, given the solid placing versus Tupper last time out, a win and a claim would mean $300,000 in total earnings for the connections. Now, aside from the just mentioned most recent effort, this boy lost by only a head in his only third start off the layoff, has 3 superfecta finishes from his many tries when first to load, and has never been out of the exacta at this trip. Tossing the fact that his best work has come when Manny Franco was in the irons, and you're having the look of a solid contender, if not a leading contender. Wire Job is well within reach here, given the inside speed, and speed was holding up after the first 2 races at Saratoga, just as we're doing this writing. So once again, our Capital OTB Depaula play of the day is in Race 2, the number 1 leading contender. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you at the races.
And they're off. Chevrolet, Mazda, and Ford right now at the Depaula Auto Group. Take off the savings you need on the vehicle that you want. New cars, trucks, SUVs, hybrids, and all electric. Delivered with Depaula savings. And the Depaula Auto Group has hundreds of pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. Remember, Depaula can service any make and model and has over 100 service bays. So buy Depaula. Think Depaula for all of your automotive needs. Depaula Auto Group. Chevrolet, Mazda, Ford, and pre-owned. Depaula.com.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Handicappers Report, 12 races on the side. One quick thing, you mentioned you're going to have Rudy Brissett on. So King Solver, who had the big buyer speed figure, they didn't go hog wild and looked much the best. I mean, 113 and change, you might not salivate, but maybe the racetrack is, that's why I thought Echo Sound's performance was so big. I didn't think it's yielding very many fast times, so we'll look at that going forward. But the horse that had the big fig.
Certainly good-looking performance.
Yes, stylistically.
Interestingly, nice. And I'll ask him about it, but in the winner's circle yesterday, if I was hearing right, he was saying there may be a little turf in the future for that one. So I'll ask about that.
the opposite of nitrogen. Is there dirt in her future?
Mark Cassie says yes.
You would think
she's going to be turf this, because we had Mark in the day after that race, Steve Vick and I on that
wonder
Sunday.
Again.
And he was saying, don't hand out that Eclipse yet. And so I would expect, yes, a little more dirt for nitrogen, because she's I was talking to, Mike Welch the other day about her, and I said, "Yep, I had her 40-1 in the race up at Woodbine, where mid-stretch, late, and not even late. I thought I'm scoring here. No, runs third. I get her in the Breeders' Cup at 40-1. No, runs third." And then Mike said, "So then you get off and she goes on the win streak?" I said, "No, I didn't get off, but it was just about as bad, because now it's a series of $5 wins."
Crumbs, it's like, and I to take Frank Miramonte's tweet the other day at Woodbine. It is a long stretch.
Yeah.
All right, 12 today.
I will relate this story of my first trip to Woodbine in that I was watching a turf race, and they're coming around the turn, and this is the main turf course, which is at Woodbine is the outside course, outside their main track, their dirt track or synthetic track. And I'm inside, kind of behind the grandstand seats, watching the monitor. We turn for home. I'm like, oh, I'm in the catbird seat, take the lead, and some other horses are there, but I'm feeling pretty good. And I think I'm going to now go watch this from outside, which is about 10 steps down. The door's open. I go 10 steps down, the door's open. I look, and it's like, maybe I shouldn't be counting my chickens yet. They have a ways to go. It is a very long story, particularly when you're there live.
I'll tell you how long ago it is that my only visit to Woodbine, the dirt was the outside course.
Oh, wow.
92. All right, let's get to the 12 today. The weather looks fantastic. 2-year-olds, open company, maiden special weights on the dirt, going 5.5 in the opener.
And again, we'll have Jason Blewett on later from West Point Thoroughbreds talking about Ewing, a horse they purchased at Ocala this past April by Nixco. I love the name there. But I put this one on top, 2, 4, 6, and 1. Sibling Tuscan Queen was third in debut, won the second start of the career. Another sibling called Girl in the Yellow Taxi. I'd love to hear the story behind that. But won the debut effort. It was back in 2019, but right up here at Saratoga, 5.5 furlongs and an off-the-turf race for Wesley Ward, wound up to be the only start of her career. But clearly some win early siblings. That workout in the middle of June jumps off the page. I'll put Ewing on top, second slot. And I will say the sire, Nixco, is brand new, but a little bit of a mixed bag so far. 10 debut runners win second or third. So, again, a little bit of a mixed bag there. But she's on a roll in the second spot. The aforementioned Wesley Ward with a second-time starter that showed some punch in the debut before fading a little bit. I would expect this one to benefit from the experience. And Bento Express, Todd Pletcher runner, Irad Ortiz on board. The team attracted some attention. The Dammer Sioux herself won a career debut right up here at Saratoga, albeit on the turf at 2 turns. So I wasn't quite sure what to make of that one. Partable is maybe a little bit interesting as well, with some nice stats in the pertinent categories. But for me, 2, 4, 6, and 1.
And I'm 4-2-6 here. I have the only vet in the veteran in the race. And yesterday, Kevin Rice with Mo Dodgy, who was in a race where he was the only horse with a race under the belt. And it's a sharp outfit. Everybody's on to the out-of-town races that come in, and what do you end up paying? About $7, just under $8 off of 8-1 morning line.
Adam's the one I think you really have to watch.
Yes. What was that horse's name? Monster B for us a couple years ago.
Right, yeah.
Ended up only winning one other race the rest of the career, the Oceanside, but came in off the Presque Isle race, and I was doing the bankroll.
The Oceanside out in Delmar?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was the only other race one. I'm 4-2-6 here, and the debut is the type of race that I liked back on June 12th, where the fans made this the 8-5 favorite, and she was, ran for 2/3 of the race. She fatigued, run worse. She comes back in. She's facing all first-time starters. I figure out I know that I have the experience edge, And I think I'm going to get the odds edge because I agree with you. Ewing is 6-5. Now, Ewing might be like one of those ones like Iron Orchard the other day. The one problem in my seat is, the whispers come out and, I'm not on the, mailing list. And then Bento Express on the outside looks extremely attractive. So I'm hoping I get a little bit the best of the price. I have the veteran experience, Ewing underneath, and then Bento Express. 4-2-6 in today's opener.
Race number 2 will kick off an early pick 4. Oh, don't forget today. I don't know if you mentioned 12:35 post time.
I did not, but thank you.
It is an early post,
and
today,
I think that's going to be normalish for Saturday.
Saturdays. But do keep that in mind. Second. Oh, and also dollar hot. I was amazed the number of people who are, I talked to yesterday who partook of the dollar hot dogs, and I said I have to have a dollar hot dog before the weekend ends myself. I'll tell
you how good a price that is. In 1990, let's say, I used to get a jumbo dog and a Coke. It was $4. I left the dollar tip. Yeah. That was 1990. Yeah,
no, it's definitely a bargain. Second race today, B condition claimers going 9 furlongs.
And I'm with the Brooklyn Cowboy. I'm 152, leading contender here. One thing. This is like the last day of sending in picks where our timing schedule is that I have an opinion on how the racing surfaces are playing. And, I knew I was way up against it with Autumn Red. I didn't think he'd run that badly. But so to me, inside, a little giddy up, shortening up off of a 1.25 mile race. But the favorite part for me is third race in the cycle. Off of the layoff. Now, this time runs for the tag. Heroes Medal, first off the claim, a $30,000 claim off of a victory. And then number 2, Michael Licious going out for Carlos Martin, 1, 5, and 2.
I went 5-1, flip yours around, 5-1, 6 and 3. Heroes Medal claimed last time, Ilke Cantamachi. Pretty good off the claim. Goes out for our friends at America's Pastime, local ownership partnership. Claim for 30. I like the fact that they move up confidently off of that. They stretch out a little bit off a series of mile races, but the race they claimed out of got it done nicely for a 30 tag. So a nice win last time when dropped in for a claimer. That was was in a maiden claimer earlier in the career. But most of the series of races have not been claimers, and even that maiden claimer was not at this level, the level of the last race. So I like that. All of that. We'll put Heroes Medal on top. But, yeah, the one that beats probably the Chad Brown-Klarovich runner, leading contender, coming out of that nice second-place finish. Last time, as you say, that was the second start with an incremental improvement with the buyer number. I can see this one primed for better. Call Me Fast. Maybe a little bit interesting. Hasn't been seen since Oak Lawn. There was a voided claim there. Now comes back off a little bit of time on the sidelines for a little bit of a reduced rate. So you can kind of go either way with that with the voided claim situation. But for me, in the second, 5-1, 6 and 3.
And I believe on opening day, Acacia Clement made an excellent point where apparently it's very hard to find out the information about specifically why the claim was voided. I don't think that's good.
It used to be in the chart, and I think it maybe still is in the chart, but it's just a plain vanilla.
Right. It's not like
it's either administrative or vet.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure
it's
in this day and age we should be there.
No, the whole point
exact.
Is, if
why.
you're going to do that, do it right. The idea was great, but it's just not being administered well.
They haven't followed through.
Yeah.
Provincially, I would say this is Seth's favorite race.
Well, the Amsterdam.
Right, well, provincial. Well, yes, but that's true. The Sanford, we had King Solver in the Schuylerville run over the top of them. Now we have the Colton Geldings equivalent in the Sanford.
And of course, you're alluding to the Sanford family, who are prominent here at Saratoga. I mean, they have a Sanford barn, I think, over on the harness side of things, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe back here, but that goes back to the day. And when I was a kid growing up, there are still a few of the buildings up there on Route 30, just outside of Amsterdam, in the commercial district. There's a Walmart now, for better or worse, occupying where it used to be the whole Sanford farm with a training track. When I was a kid, there would occasionally be horses still working out up there. And there's the story of the Sanford horses really, really back in the day at the track. They would set out, when it was still dark and walk their horses up here. So, yeah, there's some great history with Amsterdam and the Sanford family, and apt that they have the race traditionally named after them. Boy, that Schuylerville yesterday, when Frank Mirabani loaded them into the gate and said it's the 100 and whatever run. It was like, wow. And Sanford's probably been around as long. Yeah. I have it 4-2-5 and 1.
Running the
Is that what he said? Well, whatever it was, I was kind of like, yikes. Blinging it back on top for me. Mark Cassie trainee comes in off a couple of nice starts and a couple of nice improving starts. Still a maiden, however. But the improvement in start 2 was done in the Tremont. And the third place finisher there, Romeo, came back a couple of weeks ago to win the Bashford Manor. So I think that flatters blinging it back. I think this horse will be a short price. Obliteration is going to take some action, obviously, being a Steve Asmussen runner, coming off a very, very nice maiden victory with a number that flirts with my top pick, but is a little bit behind. Now, on the morning line, they're 6-5 for my top pick, 7-5 for Obliteration. I'm going to be interested to see how close they are when the betting winds up. Strategic Risk goes out for Mark Cassie and comes in off a nice debut victory against State Freds down at Gulfstream. Number-wise, probably has to move forward a little bit, but I think that's very possible in the second start of the career. Third race, the Sanford, 4-2-5 and 1.
And how about like the 3 Honey Dutch who's making the debut? You're like, what a spot here. I'm 1-4-2 because I can't separate Obliteration and blinging it back. And I think the betting will be similar. I'm going to take an outsider who I'm kind of okay with the debut. It's a type of debut that I like. I mean, it's just like, all right, we got 4 legs. We can run. We can figure it out. If it's all part of a process of building the Offspring of McLean's music, going out with for Jenna Antonucci, Javier Castellano gets the mount off of the debut. And then I have blinging it back. That's a very big 2-year-old figure early in the year. 85. That's very big. And then Obliteration, who, so if I was betting a Pepsi, I'm thinking Obliteration is going to be the favorite. I think they're going to flip-flop.
The buyers
not
are so
much.
Big, though. And again,
the
situation with Romeo.
Not with King Solver yesterday, but.
Stakes try. I kind of think David.
And the thing about King Solver was it was like a 10-point.
Yeah. Didn't
she have like a 10-point clearance on the field?
The second horse, I think, was less than 10, maybe.
Right,
but it was definitely the leader.
Strong.
Yeah.
Take a quick break. When we come back, more from the spa.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 103-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 103 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
The only thing better than watching the races is watching your own racehorse. With nearly 20 years experience in the racing industry, Bonaventure Stables' share-based ownership program enables everyday fans to become part owner of a thoroughbred for far less than you might think, with all the ownership perks at Saratoga, Belmont, Aqueduct, and other great tracks. Experience the thrill and lifestyle of owning your own thoroughbred racehorse. Learn more at bonaventurestables.com.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report, live from Clare Court. We got a gray just behind us, kind of galloping by. It's nice to be back up here at Saratoga Belmont Stakes weekend. Clare Court wasn't open, but it's nice to be back here at our home up here at Saratoga with the horses working out behind us and the Bond crew going back and forth in front of us.
I have a quick question for you because I saw it on Twitter from multiple outlets. One might have just been retweeting the first one, but so they did like 24 million yesterday versus like a 8 or 9 million thing. Why wouldn't this become a thing?
Well, and there was a lot of consternation after the opening day, and the crowd was light. It was light for Saratoga light. Right. Now they announced 11. I'm not sure, but when
they were getting in the paddock, the post for the Suburban. Plenty of good seats available, as I can see.
It was late yesterday as well, but light for Saratoga. Numbers for other tracks, those are good numbers. Yeah. But after people on opening day were talking about, I think it was Andy Serling that tweeted out the handle numbers opening day, which were much better than last year down in New York.
But
so yeah, just from a business, just from a business standpoint, it was even opening day. It wasn't that big of a gap, but it was notable. And you have to take into account, I think Andy said last year opening day corresponded, that Thursday corresponded to July 4th last year. So I'm expecting the Friday would have been the 5th. And so it probably wasn't as good of a card last year. You have to take that. But those numbers are certainly significant. All right, the fourth race today, we kick off a mid-card pick four. Don't forget on these extended cards, when you have 11 and 12 races, there are pick fours and pick fives extras in the middle of the card. So fourth race today at Saratoga, allowance non-winners of 1, traveling 7 furlongs.
Now here's an example of sending in. Not only do I think I have the wrong part of the entry, Seth, it's like the running style in this, I have no confidence in this because what I thought was going to happen, because Limes Don't Lie is clearly on paper the inferior part of the entry, but I thought the way the race was going to shape up, I could clunk up and say, but now it's like I want to be on the front. I'll just take my chances being on the front, and I have the wrong entry part. Seth has the correct part of the entry with the early speed, so I'm 1A, 4, and 3. I do think they're going to go hog wild for Ragtime, who you have for third. The old Buyer thing, second, the Belmont Barn Godolphin. But that's just it. I have the wrong part of the entry. That's how tough a shape I am here in the 7 furlong fourth.
5, and I used the 1 end.
Yeah, you have the right part.
But I used both of them.
Okay.
3 and 4. But I put Alieska on top, and I might be up against it, except it's the second start of the career. So I don't know whether this one is defined, but came from way back in the career debut to get it done. That was also last September. So this is the kind I talk about quite a bit. You get a lightly raced 2-year-old, even a lightly raced 3-year-old. They show a little something, then they get an extended time on the sideline. Sometimes they can come back improved. If so, this horse becomes very interesting for me for Brad Cox. There was a sibling called Empire Island that won the lone start of the career, Saratoga 2023. So there's some Saratoga victories amongst the Sibs. Lasix on today. I think Alieska will be a player. And then Points is Points and Limes Don't Lie. If I was choosing, I would go with Points is Points because that 92 Buyer just jumps out when you look at this group. And as you say, it was done kind of flirting around the front end. Ragtime in the third spot. A couple of the siblings were okay, but some others not so much. So there's a little bit of a mixed bag there. Now, we already have a race to go by, though, and this one did get it done in the debut. The dam herself won the first 4 of her career, including the 2007 Honorable Miss right up here. So, as I say, this horse lived up to that in the career debut. That was back on Belmont Stakes weekend right here at Saratoga. So Ragtime probably is the one to beat. When you look at the morning line, the 1 entry, and this is one where I do think this might flip-flop in the morning line. I think Ragtime up the debut.
Very attractive.
5, the 1 entry, 3, and 4.
And a quick note, I know we have to speak to is the 2 races on the dirt with the point of call, the pace call where horses were like 5 lengths off that were the winner. I just want to caveat, there were 2 races. One was a maiden claimer for fillies, and the other, I think, was a restricted claimer that had the horses well off the pace win. The halftime was in 45 and change, which I would make the supposition that that's too fast for that level of competition. So I'm not surprised off the Pacers won. So go forward with that. On to the 5th, starting at the top of the stretch, 9.5 furlongs on the melon. State Breds, 1X, fillies.
This kicks off a pick 5, 7, 4, 1, and 3. Summer Whirl on top, Grand Motion trainee. 1 start so far this year. That was back in early May. It was a decent 4th. I think overall this horse is just thrown in some races that relative to this bunch are pretty good. If we get back to those numbers, I'll put Summer Whirl on top. Second is National Archive. In the 4th spot, I have Back Check. They're both Miguel Clement trainees, and I'm going to give a little bit of an edge to National Archive, another one that has a seasonal debut back in May. It was only the 3rd career start. What we've seen so far, like my top pick, it's enough to think against this bunch is going to be a player, and then North End Lady in the 3rd spot. The Barkley Tag Runner, to me, looks interesting. Again, off numbers that will mix it up in this group. So 7, 4, 1, and 3.
I do think that the race goes through Summer World. Seth's top pick, my second pick. Love You, Miss You, Mean It is my top pick. And I Red Flare Pen through the off the turf slop race. I think my horse is competitive with everybody else, on the square. Just, Summer World's making the 2nd start of the year. I have to improve a little bit, and Summer World has to come back. But I think with everybody else, I'm shoulder to shoulder. 8-7-4.
6th race this afternoon. We are looking at maiden specials. 2-year-old fillies, a mile on the grass.
5-1-7 for me. Wait a second. I thought we stopped running these races. Like 30 years ago.
The 2-year-old's going a mile at this time. Yeah,
we stopped like in 96 running this distance. They, too much craziness on the Union Ave side. Wow. 5-1-7, folks. Maybe they're better behaved nowadays. I don't know. But for the newbies, and 30 years ago means we have a lot of newbies, they stopped running these mile races on the inner because it got very dicey on the first turn. So they backed them up a 16th of a mile. But here we go. I think Michael Doyle might have trained the last mile winner of the 2-year-olds on the
Woodbine trainer.
Yeah. 5-1-7. I'm embrace time for Brad Cox from the Brilliant Stallion. Not this time. First time started the last work. They got the gate work on the turf and showed to seem to like it for second. Matador going out for Grand Motion. Loved the debut. We're inside. And then Connect the Stars, 2nd-time starter, gets to go a rooted ground, which I think is the more preferred. But 5-1-7 as we return to the days of yore.
This is my Dark Horse Play of the Day, brought to you by the Dark Horse Mercantile and Impressions of Saratoga, both right on Broadway in downtown Saratoga. Swing by and say hello. Again, Dark Horse won yesterday. We started at 8-1 and went to 7-2. This one, I think, stands a better chance of maybe holding up a little bit. The Marquesi runner. I have it 7, 1, 3, and 5. Dark Horse Play is number 7, Connect the Stars. By Connect, that's an interesting kind of a win early, sire. The Dam produced a sibling called Split Strike, 4th, then 4th, and 1 in the 3rd start. Another one called Short Shift, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and then 1 in the 4th start. So they went in 3rd and 4th start. They're kind of win early, but a little experience helps. And Mark Cassie, very good with 2nd-time starters. This one off a debut that horse had a little bit of trouble, but I think it's one of those benefits from the experience. I think this horse very live in here and again, a decent morning line of 8-1. So our Dark Horse Play today, race number 6, horse number 7, Connect the Stars, Matadora in the 2nd spot for Grand Motion. Again, off a decent little debut to build on. And the firster, Stylish Gem, is interesting to me from George Weaver. The siblings were winners, not necessarily early, so this may be one to kind of keep our eyes on down the road a little bit. But for me in the 6, 7, 1, 3, and 5.
Take a quick break. When we come back, second half of today's action from the spot.
It only takes one upset to make history, and now you can be part of Saratoga's long tradition at the Dark Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor, from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse.
A day at the track isn't complete without a night at the Horseshoe. Great food, hot music, and cold drinks. So why go downtown when all the action's just across from the track? The Horseshoe Inn at the corner of Nelson and Gridley.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back. 7th race, 3-year-olds and up. Fillies and Mares, maiden special weights, going the ever popular 6.5.
I wrote at the top of the page competitive, but parenthetically I wrote on paper because they're also lightly raced. But there's some nice records here. Those that have run have showed, a couple of them have shown a little bit of something. So it's a fun race. But I'm 5, 4, 3, and 7. Gins Beach Road on top. The dam herself won the first 2 starts of the career. Siblings, Agate Road, second in debut, won the next couple. And Plenitude won the first 2 starts of the career. Those were both full siblings that were clearly win early. So I'll go with the Mark Cassidy runner with Irod on board to win the debut. Philly Freedom in the second spot. Again, Dam won her career debut. A sibling, the lone racing sibling, Born Noble, won the career debut. It's Chad Brown with a runner that has a race under the belt, but a pretty good race. Should benefit from that. Chad's always dangerous early on to be a win early type. And then Sincoro, Dam was 4 for 4. Sibling called Brentford, second in debut, won the second start. I will say those were at Penn National, so I'm not sure the quality of the competition, but Boltioro's an okay sire of win early types. 5, 4, 3, and 7.
Just 3, 8, 4 for me. I have Sincoro on top. A couple of back workouts that indicated ability, practical love, and then Philly Freedom. So 3, 8, 4. I left out Gins Beach Road, who just has bullets laden throughout, but we will see.
8th race this afternoon. Optional claimers, non-winners of 2 other than on the grass at a quick 5.5.
4, 8, 2 for me, and Judge Davis making the seasonal debut for Shug. Makes the Saratoga debut. Last race at Keeneland was in the autumn, runs for a tag here. And if my math is right, this is first time in for a tag with Joel Rosario, taking them out. Final verdict for second. We're on the outside, making the 3rd start of the season. I like that very much. We have early speed, very dangerous with Dylan Davis aboard. And then from the rail, boats are rocking. 4, 8, 2.
7, 4, 6, and 8. I'll put in Tari's on top. Seasonal debut was Belmont Stakes weekend up here. Ended last season at Kentucky Downs in September. So a little bit of a layoff, 8, 9 months on the sidelines, but came back with a close-up second-place finish in a similar scenario, similar kind of a spot. So I'll look for this one to benefit from that. Had plenty of time now on the sidelines, a month essentially on the sidelines to recuperate. Second spot, Judge Davis comes in off a series of good races. They were at the end of last year, so this one has to overcome a little bit of a layoff. But I would expect the workouts underneath say that plenty of foundation there to get set for the seasonal debut. And Light the Way is interesting for Linda Rice. You look down, no turf. So this one, they tried to get the turf last time, I assume, unless it was entered main track only. But the last one was an off the turfer. But the horse comes in very, very good form. 8th race, Saratoga, 7, 4, 6, and 8.
9th race, State Breds, optionals 45, 2X, going 7/8.
5, 4, 6, and 7. Number 5, What's Up, Bro? Steps out of Allowance Company. Hasn't been seen since the end-ish of April, but comes back for Linda Rice. Drops in for the tag today. When last seen in April was a win in Allowance Company. So should be a cozy fit in with this type. Second spot, I'm Wide Awake. Comes in off a nice win last time against State Bred Allowance runners. A similar group in here. So I think this one is going to be a cozy fit again. And then in the third spot, He's Got It. Race 3 back was pretty good. Last couple of races, maybe not so much, although the number I think fits with this group. I'm hoping we get back to that race a little bit down the page, though, back in December. In the 9th at Saratoga, 5, 4, 6, and 7.
I'm 7, 5, 4, and I like Russian Realm very much. Hasn't run since late January, listed as first-time gelding. Very believable with that type of timing. Debuted going 7/8, raced well. I think the last race of was in January. To me, is a throwout. Even if nothing went wrong, the pace and the position, no chance that day. But 7/8, I think we have a chance. What's Up, Bro? For Linda Rice is going to be dangerous, in my opinion, if the racetrack is the same and I'm Wide Awake. So 7, 5, 4 in the 9th.
All right, we will head to one more break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the remainder of this Saturday card. Stay tuned.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 103-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 103 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Again, top of the hour, we'll be joined by Rudy Brissett, who has just arrived in the green room after a nice win yesterday in the Schuylerville. We'll talk about
understands the struggle of producers. He
Suffering.
understands it, and he eliminates their fears.
Always like the guests arriving a little bit early. All right, we'll kick in and wrap up the card for today with the 10th race, the Kelso Grade 3 event. They're on the grass at a mile.
Kelso, maybe the only horse that's won the Whitney at 2 different tracks.
Oh,
it was once held at Belmont Park, and he got the job done.
Nice.
276. And how about this? Lore, going a mile on turf, lost to Kelso 2 out of 3 years. The greatest miler we've ever produced. Intellect is my top pick, and I'd be happy to take the 3-1 right now. Third start in the United States, exits the poker, beaten favorite. Down inside. Is going to be back up against it. Like I said, this was, my picks when I now have an opinion that I would have a more preferred front end on the turf going a mile on the inner turf. Arzak, I liked him in the Jaipur. I don't think he had much of a chance. This is the third start of the season. It's a tough spot. We're going to get a big price. And then for third, Mountain Bear, all of my picks, I think, are up against the racing surface. You don't have the 4 either, who I think the 4 and the 8 are just dangerous the way the turf's playing.
Yeah. I had the 8 in the 4 spot, and I really debated putting Win for Money further up. I could have juggled mine around. I think it's a bunch, and again, that is competitive. But you may be right. Given the scenario, Donegal momentum may be worth an extra look. 5-2 on the morning line.
I wonder if maybe the jocks will, start to compensate for it.
But it just never seems to work out.
I agree with that
way.
too.
I have it 6, 5, 3, and 8. Mountain Bear on top. I thought the 2 starts in the United States were very good, including the seasonal debut down at Churchill, one to build on. That was a second place finish, however, behind Nantasket Beach. So that win tabs that one as being very live. And here at 10-1 off the win down at Churchill last time. And Think Big is an interesting runner in here, given the turf sprint. And this one being a turf sprinter may wind up being forwardly placed as well, going the 2 turns. So
I don't think it would hurt.
Yeah, no, with Jose Ortiz on board, could be interesting in that scenario. 10th at Saratoga, the Kelso, 6, 5, 3, and 8.
11th race on the card, time for the 3-year-old fillies in the Belmont Oaks.
Yeah, I couldn't get past my old friend Nitrogen, 7, 5, 2, and 1. As I mentioned, I was on Porter at the 240-1 prices at the end of last year, where she ran third. Good-looking thirds were in both of those. I thought, I'm going to get my $80 here, and it didn't work out. I've been on board since, and it hasn't played out as nicely price-wise.
You might have been getting your $100 one time.
Yeah. But she has run very well, obviously 5 for 5 this year, including the off-the-turf for last time. And so, as we alluded, be interesting to see what Mark does going forward. But back on the turf today, I'll put her on top. Fionn in the second spot, comes in off a win in the Stake the Regret down at Churchill, and should be live off of that Opulent Restraint for Chad Brown. Looks to be a player too. Relatively lightly raced, but clearly has shown some flourishes. So 11th, the Belmont Oaks, 7, 5, 2, and 1.
I mean, the race is all about Nitrogen. I mean, she might run what I think are commonplace figs on turf, but they're like 10 points high, 10, 12 points higher than everybody. Like we were all talking about Good Cheer, where she just ran, not fantastic numbers. I took a shot here. Opulent Restraint, who I think we go on the engine, we figure it out. The rails are up on the Mellon turf course. I'm just taking a shot against Nitrogen, who's probably going to be, I think 4 to 5 would be attractive on Nitrogen. I think she's looking at 2 to 5.
Yeah, I agree.
2, 7, 3 for me.
Finale today, 6:48 scheduled post time. Race number 12, State Bred Maiden Claimers, going 6.5.
And I'll say this, to me, you think she can be 1 to 5?
I do.
All right, because to me, there's a big difference between even 2 to 5 to 1 to 5. She can be 1 to 5. 7, 11, 6 for me in the finale, the popular 6.5. First time gelding, you go 2 races back, the seasonal debut. That's what I'm working off of. You get to ask more questions at 10 to 1. I get Luis Saez aboard. For second, number 11. Let me turn the page here, folks. Captain Jack Sparrow. I guess that's one of those movie things, right? Mike Maker's runner. Just got beat running for a tag recently, and for third. All of a suddenly, they take the blinkers off. Good early speed. Rooting at Finger Lakes. Now drops back. 7, 11, 6.
You've never seen Pirates of the Caribbean?
No, I just couldn't think of the movie. I saw the first one.
Oh, and the first 2 were the ones to see.
Yeah, I saw the first one.
That was very good.
Captain Jack Sparrow, right? That's his name.
Yeah. And this is a little bit of a quirky spelling. It's kind of clever.
Jackson.
I went with that one on top. 11, 10, 6, and 3. Lightly raced Mike Maker runner, Captain Jack Sparrow, off the second place finish last time. Second spot, Kings and Queens. Greg Sacco trainee that also looks a little bit live, coming off a nice try at this level last time. All of a sudden, Lee in the third spot. Tried maybe Special Company last time. Ran okay, but gets back in to probably a more proper level. And I will mention Mama's Midi. I meant to text Todd Height or somebody out of Finger Lakes. I'm wondering if this is Felix Montserrat's daughter, perhaps, the trainer. Felix Montserrat was, of course, the trainer of Zippy Chippy. And I'm going to double check on that and see, because this one comes in from the Finger Lakes. But for me, 11, 10, 6, and 3.
All right, that wraps up our look at our 12-race card on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. He stays, I go. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
This has been the Handicappers Report, brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com. the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.